Hey guys, and welcome back to yet another Star Wars project. For today's build, I'm going to be making Ishi Tib. I think their species has a really interesting design, and they're always kind of fun to spot whenever they appear as background characters. Whether it's on Tatooine, Coruscant, or even on the Rebel flagship, they're definitely more common than you might realize, especially in the prequels. As always, I'm going to be making this project out of Sculpey and aluminum foil, so with that in mind, let's get started. Now the sculpt itself is coming along nicely, but this guy still needs a uniform. Nobody wants to see an Ishi Tib without clothes on, and originally I was gonna give him the outfit of one of the rebel officers like the Hasbro Ishi Tib action figure, but I actually ended up changing my mind midway through the project, and I'm gonna tell you why. When I was a kid, I thought the Ishi Tib were kind of creepy, and when I say kind of, that is certainly an understatement. At least in Legends, the lore about them was incredibly dark. I think it might have been in the Tales of the Bounty Hunters novel, but they mentioned that if you look at an Ishi Tib the wrong way, they'll literally rip you apart, limb from limb. There's something about those emotionless eyes, and not being able to tell if you're offending them or not, it seemed like a cool concept. But what do you think would happen if that Ishi Tib happened to be a Jedi? Might be interesting to see how some species overcome that natural aggression when they're put up to pass the Jedi trials. So, to make that happen, I altered that rebel coat just a little bit and made it into a Jedi tunic. After adding in those finishing details, I'm really happy with how everything turned out. So it's time to bake the Sculpey in the oven and move on to painting. But before I get into that, if you're a Star Wars fan, or if you enjoy creature design in general, definitely check out my Space Worm diorama. There's a link to the entire building process in the description below. To start off the painting process, I began with a base coat. Once he was fully covered in green, I added on several layers of watered down acrylic paint. Even though he's really just one color, I want to make sure his skin looks real and organic, so I mixed up lots of different colors and shades to help with some variation. Next, I started to work on the eyes. Depending which version of the Ishi Tib you're looking at, they actually have different styles when it comes to how the eyes appear in movies and in TV shows. The Phantom Menace and the Book of Boba Fett have them looking a lot more human, for example, whereas the Clone Wars have them looking a lot more like a snake eye instead. Instead of a round pupil, it's a slit like a reptile. There's also a really cool mod for Ishi Tib on Battlefront 2 with solid orange eyes that look even scarier than live action. But for this project, I think Clone Wars, it's gonna look the best. For the Jedi's tunic, on the other hand, I started off with a beige, and that's going to work perfectly for the base coat. I always thought it was cool how Anakin's pauldrons were actually made out of leather instead of a normal woven fabric, so I added in some watered down brown to seep into all the details and make it look like a real life leather. Also, I really like in Attack of the Clones how a lot of the non-human Jedi are actually wearing different Jedi robes than a traditional Jedi Knight. So I added in some black stripes along the outside of the tunic, all for some extra customization. Next, I applied a black wash over the entire sculpture to really enhance all the work I put into the sculpt itself. After all that, and adding some highlights to the beak, this Ishi Tib Jedi is complete. All that's left to do is sit back and enjoy the final result.